In the north, locals are used to the big wet, but in southeast Queensland there's been extraordinary rain. Climatologist Roger Stone warns there's more to come and the state can expect an earlier than usual wet season. He spoke to Kathy McLeish.
Professor Roger Stone, what kind of weather event are we experiencing at the moment?
Well, we're seeing a La Nina pattern, which we haven't seen too much of in the last 30 years or so. So I think we've almost forgotten what the climate systems can do. So this is the opposite to the El Nino-induced drought patterns we've had for so many years. We've swung back the other way, or the Pacific Ocean at least has swung the other way, which gives us, in most years like this, gives us usually above normal rainfall in many parts of the state and the risk of extreme events in certain circumstances as well. So the risk is always increased of heavier rainfalls and to some extent some flooding in years like this.
Many people would remember Queensland as being very wet in summer. Are we returning to that?
The returning is probably a strong expression, but certainly we're seeing for this year, for this summer, a similar pattern to the ones that many of us can remember back in the 1950s, 1955, 56, and also around 1970 and 73, 74. So back in the 50s and 70s, yes, we had quite a few of these patterns. So for those of us that remember those days, Queensland in summer was pretty wet and areas went underwater quite easily and we had to prepare for a lot of rain. So that was fairly typical back in those days.
With the onset of climate change, are we seeing more extreme weather patterns?
It's more that the models suggest that we'll see more extreme patterns. It's easy to jump on a few extreme events and claim that's climate change, but unfortunately we can't do that with just one event. But certainly, because we only have 100 years of records, it's easy to find an extreme event in there. But certainly the models suggest more extreme precipitation, more extreme rainfall in southeast Queensland actually. Certainly some of the CSIRO models suggest that we have more of these intense events, and I'm sure that the water resource agencies and the people responsible for dams are aware of that, and so that the construction, the engineering has to take note of the climate change projections from some of the better climate change models from around the world.
What about the rest of Queensland? Is everybody in for a big wet?
Well, normally it's most of eastern Australia, so we've already seen northern Victoria have heavy rain and considerable flooding. So certainly, yes, northern Australia and northern Queensland and the rest of us in most of Queensland are subject to this increased risk. So the potential for tropical cyclones in the Coral Sea, of course, are there in this, a few more of them in this type of year. And yes, all the major catchments in Queensland are vulnerable to this particular type of pattern. So it's not just the Brisbane Valley and not just the Brisbane River, it's the Mary River, it's the Fitzroy, it's the Dawson, it's the Pioneer River around Mackay and so on, right up and down the Queensland coast and inland as well.
So for a long-term outlook, it's a matter of reassessing the weather patterns next autumn?
Most of these years, I need to emphasise this, most of these types of years persist through to about autumn. So most of these types of patterns, most of these types of patterns tend to persist through to autumn. The climate year tends to run autumn to autumn, not January to December. It's not like the calendar year. So the patterns that lock in around early winter tend to stay there right through to the following autumn. So we had warning of this back in about May, June, that this type of pattern was starting to develop, and it's just fulfilling the textbooks.